What's up, everybody? It's Life's Apprentice. Today I'm going to be showing you how to install a rubber roof on a flat roof section here on this house. Look behind me. We've got a flat metal roof here. It's about 10 by 11 and we're having issues with it leaking. One of the problems right here, as you can see, they're gutter straps. That is an absolutely terrible design. We will be replacing those. I'll show you that here in a minute. But this thing's seen better days. It's been coated multiple times. You can see right here. There's a hole that somebody's tried to tar, and this thing's just old and rusted out. They've coated it a couple of times. You can see the original color and the silver over the top. So it's been an issue, and it's been leaking, and we're here to fix it. Okay, so here's how we're gonna fix the problem with these gutter straps right here. These gutter straps that they have in here are going right through the roof. You can see here they're fastened right through the roof. You do not want that. So we're gonna add in these new straps. These are pre-made straps we got them at Menards. They come with the screw in them and everything like that. Makes it super easy. Now we're going to install these new ones before we take the old ones out, so we don't have to worry about repitching the gutter. But basically all you got to do is this part is going to hook on the gutter. You're just going to hook this in there like that. You're going to bring this down here to where it's through the back of the gutter right here. You're going to screw it in. So we're going to go ahead and do that on this little section of gutter. These shingles, well, here's the chimney. From the metal roof up to the chimney is about 2 feet. That's about how far we're going to want to run our rubber up underneath the shingles. So all the way across the metal roof here, we're going to want to loosen up and nicely take off these shingles. They seem like they're going to come off pretty easily. I've already loosened a few of these up, but we're going to go through all the way across here, and we're going to take off 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, and then we'll be able to get our rubber up underneath this 5th row just a little bit. So we're going to go across here, remove these shingles so that we can get the rubber underneath there, and then we will end up putting some of these shingles back on. We got all the shingles taken off. Put a little piece of ice and water shield on here. You don't necessarily need to do that for this purpose. I mean, it's kind of against water flow, but we wanted to protect this. Now we're starting to sheet it. You see here we have this is called a fiberboard. Here you can kind of see the manufacturer and the name of it. This is a 1/2-inch fiberboard. We're gonna install this, and then our rubber is gonna go over the top of it, and we're installing it using screws and insulation plates. All the fiberboard is down, as you can see here. Just to eliminate the need for more plates, we're putting these on all the seams. You can see here we have the entire roof sheeted now. Now we're going to get our rubber laid out. We have our rubber all laid out here. This is a 10-foot piece. We are going to have a seam right up here. I'll show you how I do that in a little bit. We had to cut this piece to length. In this case, we're leaving ourselves about 3 inches, 4 inches overhang all the way around. Now what we're going to do is we're going to flip this back. Flip this back, we're exposing the fiberboard underneath that we're gonna glue. So with the glue. In this case, we're just gonna dump it. This glue is kind of expensive, so try to use it sparingly. Then you're just going to take a normal paint roller. This is a 3/8 snap paint roller, and you're going to roll it all onto the fiberboard. You're going to cover this entire thing with a thin coat. Here you can see everything is completely covered. One thing I want you to notice with this stuff is the color. You can see the color of it. It's white. You're going to want to give this time. You can see over here where he started, where it's starting to turn color. In the summertime, this stuff is going to dry, or not dry, but get sticky a lot faster. Right now it's cold, so it's going to take a little time. But what we're going to do is we're going to wait for this to turn. It's almost going to be translucent. It's going to be clear. And I'll show you that here in a minute. You can see here the color difference. Another way you can tell is just by touching it. Your finger should stick to it, not completely, but you shouldn't be able to slide your finger across it without it sticking. You can see here, it is ready. So what we do now is you're going to take the rubber and have somebody, you're going to hold it, flip it, and you're going to take a broom, you're going to push it. Smooth it all out. Try to keep all the wrinkles out. You know, start in the middle and work your way to the edges. And when you do this, it's going to help it adhere, and you can see these wrinkles right here. Watch those disappear. You get a little wrinkle like this, a lot of times you can just work it out with your foot. I'm going to put some pressure on there. We're just going to continue this gluing process across this entire roof. It's kind of boring, so I won't show you the whole thing. We're going to get all the rest of it, and that'll have the rubber completely adhered to this roof. That's going to be a slow beyond. There you can see we have everything adhered down. For the most part, all the wrinkles and bubbles and everything are out. Some of them are a little bit tricky. You can see, like this one right here, had kind of a pre-folded wrinkle from when it was in the roll. So what we do is we just go around with our foot and smooth those out. There's not a whole lot you can do about that. When it's warmer, it's a little bit more pliable, a little bit easier. Now the next step here, you can see we have a 10-foot roll. If it's not quite enough, we want to go about 2 feet up underneath the shingles here. So we're going to have another piece that goes up underneath the shingles, and then we'll have a seam right along here all the way down the edge. This piece here is not going to need to get glued, and the reason for that is we don't really have a clean surface to glue to here, but once we have this piece on and we put these shingles back, it'll hold that piece of rubber on there. What Paul's doing, this is called a termination bar, and this bar is going to get screwed down and it's going to hold the rubber from blowing. And what you'll do once it's all screwed down is we'll take a knife and we'll cut it right here so you won't have any of this excess. You can see here, he's not cutting the corner, he's folding it. You're wrapping it kind of like a Christmas present. And you're just going to put screws in these little pre-drilled holes. And we're going to do that on 3 sides. We're going to do that on the side here, the bottom here, and this side over here. Here we have our piece that's going to overlap. You don't want this to overlap about 4 inches. It's going to overlap about 4 inches here. We have that running all the way across. One thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to take you can take a marker, a pencil, or a pen. You're going to mark your seam right on that edge. This makes it a lot easier to know where you're going if you do it now. You can see this rubber is, we tacked it down temporarily until we get the seam. It's over the shingles. This rubber is going to go underneath those shingles, but right now we have it over the top. We'll fish it in underneath here in a minute. But you can see he has this tool here. This is like you're cleaning the rubber. So you can see my line that I made here. You got about 4 inches. And this is just a basic Scotch-Brite pad. You're going to go through and clean both sides of the rubber. This side and this side on the entire seam. You're going to go all the way across the entire thing. The next step on these seams is, I don't know if you can see the color difference. It's kind of hard, but you're going to want to take a primer, a rubber roof primer, and you're going to prime both sides. This is what we're using right here. We get this at Menards. This is a large jug. You can get them smaller than this. So you're going to go around with a rag and you're going to prime this really good after you clean it. And you can see what he's doing here. This is the seam tape. This is like a double-sided sticky tape. We're going to follow that line that we drew on there, and we're going to stick this on there one side. I got the top of it. Got a little low there. You gotta do this yet too. careful you don't go through and hit the rubber. Grab a roller. You got one? So the next step, we got this horizontal seam all the way around here. We have not peeled it yet. Here, yep, you're gonna see, you're gonna peel it. Once this stuff sticks, it does not want to come off. So you got to be careful when you're doing this. This is a small seam, but the larger ones are going to be a little bit harder. Once you get it like that, then you're going to take a roller. You're going to roll it really good all the way along these seams. Now it's really important, your preparation for this is super important. When you take the Scotch-Brite pad and clean it, and when you prime it, it's super important that you get every little bit, and do not get lazy on this part, because this tape is reliant on the cleaning and the primer. It's a three-part adhesion here. The neck part, we're gonna go. And what I like to do on these longer seams is you're gonna start on one end. You're gonna take that tape and just peel it back like this with the rubber down. And you're just gonna go along, pull just a little bit. Take your hand, make sure this is gonna eliminate any wrinkles. Obviously we'll have to go back and roll this with the roller, but see, we drew a line on here, and you can see that this got a little bit low. So it will be showing just a tiny bit, you can see there. But that's not the end of the world. It's really aesthetic more than anything. It's not going to affect the roof in any way. There you have that. And he's going to go back through and roll this entire thing, and it is going to be the strongest part of the roof on this seam. You hear a lot of homeowners say, "Oh, I want a seamless rubber roof." Well, that's all fine and dandy, and you can do that in some instances. The problem with that is you got to get such huge rolls of rubber to do some of these roofs seamless that it's just really not viable. And some of these roofs, you get these big giant rolls of rubber, you just can't get them up here without a crane. So in this case, this roof is like 10 foot by 11 foot, or 10 foot by 10 foot. The roll of rubber we got was 10 foot by 20 foot, but the rubber did cover the entire roof, but it did not leave us enough rubber to go up underneath the shingles. So we had to put a seam here. But if you notice, where I put the seam is on this upslope. So the seam's not on the flat part of the roof. Well, there you have it. We are done. You can see this nice roof, some of our muddy footprints on there. You can see it's all adhered down. You got the shingles all put back together. It didn't quite cover this seam, but that's okay. You can see how strong that is. Where the seam is, there's a seam tape underneath there. Got everything put back together as far as the shingles go. Got everything cut. Right here we have shingles over the top of the rubber. You can see that the rubber is running over here, and I left it a little bit long in this corner. And then you can see the termination bar all the way across, all screwed in and everything like that. And then we cut the excess off. It looks a lot nicer that way. But that's it. Now something like this, you can expect the cost of something like this to be pretty cheap in, I guess, in relative terms as far as roofing goes. But if you're doing this by yourself, I would say the total cost to do something like this, not including labor, you're probably looking at about $300, maybe a little bit more, $350. But to do something like this is pretty cheap in the grand scheme of things. So that's it for me today. I hope you like this video. I hope you like these educational videos. I am a professional exterior contractor, mainly roofing. We do siding and windows too. I'll have some videos of that coming out in the future. But if you like these videos, hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.